welcome,
Another episode of Masters of Marketing.
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of Masters of Marketing. Today, I'm talking with Mr. Ross Gates,
Mrs. Jody Kung.
Mr. Michael, and Mr. Michael. Okay, cool. So on this episode today, we got a lot of internal discussions. Let's go right into that article. So we're looking for an SEO hack. Well, not really a hack, but just like an SEO to provide value, write articles, turn these episodes into articles, and then convert them into SEO driven articles and drive out the keywords. And we found this consultant, and she's like, hey, we're going to do this for a pretty reasonable price. And we're like, okay, awesome. Let's do it. Let's test it out. How many words did she write on a 30-minute episode?
6,000 words.
7 pages.
Wait.
Wait. I thought 300 to 500 words a page.
I don't know. I just saw the number and I saw the pages and I was like, I'm not reading all of this. And then I read the first 2 paragraphs and went, these first 2 paragraphs had so many fluff sentences in them that I'm not reading the rest. I did because it's my job to read a lot of it, but I was like, this is crazy. This is so much content. A lot of this content wasn't even in the episode. This is outside research mixed with a bunch of feel-good stuff. It kind of isn't really actionable, and all I really wanted to know was what the guy was saying on our episode, and I got all this other stuff.
So you wanted it to be distilled and get right to the point.
Yes, I don't have time to read 7 pages. I want the TLDR, which is the 300 to 500 words, which is the TLDR of those 7 pages, and that's the full piece of content.
But that's not what works in SEO. Okay, let's dive into it. The next topic, and we'll come back to that. We'll come back to this writing. Hey guys, I've been watching lots and lots of Mad Men. I'm rewatching the whole thing. After 10 years later, I'm watching all the episodes. Madison Avenue Mad Men. It's a TV show. It's pretty scandalous, but there's a lot of good tactics and information in there. And we've been having some really interesting guests that are kind of cajoling and bringing these ideas together around advertising, psychology, emotion, and where you're getting your information from, right? So we're in a very an age where society is being kind of ripped apart by articles online and social media, and nobody knows where to get their information from. And so it's becoming more and more important to have influence and authority on what you say and how you say it. So people will then believe you, right? Because if you don't have multiple points or proof points or even backing up from a more authoritative source, people aren't going to believe you. So if I had a whiteboard, what I would do is I would draw on it right now, a triangle, right? And so at the bottom of the triangle, at the bottom of the stack, it's a bunch of fluff and content, right? And then over time, you kind of get better and get better and get better. So one of the things I was thinking about specifically about Mad Men is you come in and you see their presentations to these brands, and they're doing content and they're doing the psychology of the sale, and they're doing lots of other things around how to impress not only the client, but also do good work. So that not only are they have to convince 3 layers in the stack. So they have to convince internally, their creative director, that it's going to be good. It's got to be representative of their firm. Not only of this representative of the firm, their content and their strategy needs to work. Not only does their content and strategy need to work, and their client needs to believe it's on their brand and it's best for the future of the brand and not diluting their brand in the short term. So when you have the tension pulls of these 5 different things and they come into their presentation and you watch some of their presentations on Mad Men, I wish it was just a YouTube channel that just played just their business presentations. It would be worthwhile to watch, right? So if you're a YouTuber out there and you want a channel that people are going to watch, just the clips where they're in the business meetings, and that's it. That'd be awesome. Lots of good information in there. I think the point that I wanted to make is they're being pulled by tension on all different sides, right? And you see the final finished product of the pitch, but content writing, creative marketing is a muscle. And what we're seeing in there is the output of hundreds, if not thousands of hours of grinding your craft. And people are grinding their craft, they're sharpening their elbows, They're just distilling their content. They're battling internally all the time and to like get the best product possible, so that when you do put it in front of your client or people and the consumer, you essentially have battle tested it, and you've gone allowed all of the kinks or a lot of the kinks before. And I think it's super important to kind of think through and see, because you don't really see that. We go through our daily lives, and I'm looking at a Dell computer screen, I'm looking at an Apple, and I'm looking just all around me of the ads, the content, the design of a Red Bull can, the design of this pack of dentine gum by a designer, thousands of hours and tens of thousands of hours before that, getting and grinding the expertise to produce this pack of gum, whether you like it or not, to get that feeling. And I think that's really, really important to understand. So whatever you choose to do, like if you have and you want to be the best in your craft, you're going to be putting thousands and thousands of hours to become that. So you better like it. Better be something that you're good at and you continue to like to do. And that's kind of why we're doing some of these videos.
So my response to that, my favorite quote, or one of my favorite quotes, is by Mark Twain. It's, I wanted to write you a short, the quote is, I didn't have time to write you a short letter, so I wrote you a long one. And that ties exactly back to the article we're talking about and what you're talking about, grinding through those 6,000 words to get the 3,000 words. But Google doesn't appreciate the 3,000 words. Your audience might not think that you put in as much effort because you only wrote 300 words, but it requires so much effort to make simplicity.
100%. And so that's the weird thing about SEO these days, which the longer page engagement of the article, there's platforms that if you go and you can post on, they only have like a certain word count. Like they won't even index you unless you have like a long word count. And Google is like not indexing like short posts and tweets anymore. There's a company called Countable out there that have little paragraph arguments, and they made it little micro posts on really interesting topic. Is like, here's the pros and cons of any political debate, and then people could kind of post their own ideas on the debates, on the pros and cons, and have little micro arguments on the pros and cons. And it was like super interesting because they were like, hey, let's take those both sides and build this micro content. They couldn't get their micro content indexed. It just wasn't long enough. So there's this weird kind of like mechanism that Google appreciates verbosity while people appreciate quality.
So where do you think the intersection is that you should stop?
That's a great question. I don't know. Maybe like trailers and tweets. If you can get down and distilled down to that type of thing, then it becomes viral, right? So it depends on, are you trying to feed the algorithms and you're trying to feed the beast, or are you trying to feed people? And so if you're feeding algorithms, if you're feeding long form algorithms like Google search engine, then you have to play the long form game. There's a line in marketing, or there's a line is like, I have 5 seconds to get 10 seconds, right? So if you bore people to death in the first 5 seconds, you won't get the next 10 seconds.
So my problem with that is, if you want to feed the Google algorithm to get the first 5 seconds, then you need the really long form content. But you need the high quality TLDR on the beginning of that, so that you provide 2 minutes worth of value, and then you have 10 minutes worth of content that no one's ever going to read. That's just how you got into Google.
That's interesting. That seems like the valuable approach, right? But there's a different, let's go back to like authority, influence stacking, dominance, right? So we had a really interesting conversation with you and your brother yesterday, kind of after the Deidre conversation about feel, and on the emotion that pulls in, and the attention that somebody like an Adam Morgan and Deidre, what they're really trying to do is you're doing this attention game, right? And the attention game is, let me grab your attention, let me give you positive emotion so that you will continually come back to my brand, right? So I need to grab your attention. I need to give you, but when I grab your attention, I have to do it in a trustful way that essentially you believe also that trust, but you believe that I have the authority to say what I'm saying, right? And so one of the psychological tricks that people use in SEO, especially in ClickFunnels and this long form SEO content, is have a shit ton of content on the page, right? When you have 6,000 words on the page, like the individual thinks, oh, this person knows exactly what they're doing. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. It doesn't really matter. Like, but it tricks your brain until you start to read it, right? So on the tertiary, like Google can't really determine like quality at scale, right? All they can do is determine quality signals. They are looking for quality, but they're not good enough to understand the authority. And so they do this abstraction called domain authority and page authority and page rank to abstract the actual authority of a single article. If you write an amazing quality article that resonates with thousands and thousands of people, it will still go viral. The question is, it's just really, really hard to do. And so are you trying to pick up on the long tail, or are you trying to really make something that goes viral? And those are two different strategies, and those are two different types of content pieces.
Are you about to share something, or can I interject?
Yeah, you can interject. I'm preparing for the next topic.
So you say two different types of content pieces.
Yeah.
Where does video come to this? We're trying to make a video every single day, which is a bunch of content, but how do you get that picked up such that when someone sees you have 80 videos, they feel you have authority, Google feels you have authority, etc.?
Cool. So there's getting picked up in Google, there's getting picked up in social, and then there's feeding different types of users, right? So for me, I'm an audio learner. I don't read. Like I'll read technical manuals and I'll like solve problems and I'll read? No, I know how to read really fast, but I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy reading. I read all the time, all day. My head is in a screen. I'm not just looking at. I don't have Instagram. I have an Instagram. I never use it. Right? Like I read Slack consistently, constantly. I read every link. I read every message in Slack. I'm on 3 different Slacks where I read every single message. I get 1,000 emails a day. I go through there. I read a lot. So, but I don't read for enjoyment. And I don't learn from reading as well as I do from the audio conversation. I can tell when somebody's full of crap in their audio, right? And they don't believe what they're saying, or they're kind of like on the fence. And when you can tell that, the authority is there or it's not there. I mean, like, if you want to get political for a second, it's why people like Trump. He believes what he's saying, even though it's garbage, in my opinion, versus a Biden who's always like self-reserved, and he goes out on a limb and steps out on a limb. And every time he steps out on a limb and says, oh, tries to be funny or whatever, it's just not his strength. It's not his wheelhouse. He's being fake all the time. You can't believe a word that he says. So you have somebody who's saying exactly how they feel. And when it comes in the media of video and audio, and you're like, oh, wait a second, this is true and this is real. Like, even though I don't agree with this guy, he's saying what he believes. Like, that feels good. Like, even if you don't agree, you're like, wow, he's taking a risk. While if somebody that's like super reserved, kind of unsure about what they're talking about, always being close to the chest, it doesn't feel genuine. You'll lose trust in the individual, right? So if you're going to say something, like, be like, oh, maybe I don't know the best about this. I have the best experts in the world that can help me rise to the conclusion, but here's the information that I have now, and here's why. But that's not what the people want in a leader. Like, it's super weird. So the reason why I thought about this, and I'm bringing this up, is not to get super political. It's that in audio and in video, like, you can tell when somebody is lying or just pretending or acting in a certain way. Unless they're a professional actor, and then, that's their job to be genuine and truthful. So it creates a deeper relationship than words on a page. People that watch. That's why I think video and audio is important.
So I think that video and audio are important for the same reasons. The question is, we are taking our videos, we are transcribing them, we are putting them into a 500-word blog post.
Yeah.
At what point do you have enough authority on your website, and at what point are you just creating a bunch of stuff that isn't necessary? If you want to create the stuff for Google so that people find your videos, do they ever even need to find the 6,000-word post if it's not your highest quality stuff? if it's just intended for the algorithm. Because when someone comes back to my website, or just in general, I've heard people say this, I go to a website, they don't have a blog. Because they don't have a blog, I don't think they have any authority, or I don't believe that they're going to exist for a long time because they haven't put any time into creating content, teaching their audience. It's like, cool, so we create a blog. But do we need to create a blog, or you just create your video and that's enough?
Like, this is the worst answer ever, but it depends, right? It has to be enough. You have to like look at Profitwell. They got some sort of like WordPress thing. It's probably on like Flywheel, like with some semi-interesting theme. And they got a product, right? It goes to another page that they go on a landing page. They got a blog, pricing, features. You need enough to feel like they've been around for a little while. Like the answer is it depends. And the other answer is it has to be good enough. And then there's diminishing returns of content creation, right? So every new piece of content that you create that's subpar, that isn't viral, like for Profitwell, like they've hit the epoch, right? They're industry leaders in about pricing in their segment. So now the quality meter and quality score of their next piece of content has to outdo their past piece of content. And that's really, really hard because they've got enough content of a base, right? They've got enough good soil there where you can grow organic traffic. Like it's thick enough. If you have very thin soil, right, and very thin topsoil, you can't grow a lot of organic traffic. So you do need a thick enough base, or you can't, like, think about like skiing or snowboarding, right? You can't grow in thin topsoil. You can't ski really well in a very thin base, right? So you need a thick enough content layer that you answer enough FAQs, that you answer enough kind of questions about the product, that you have enough thought leadership. They're like, oh, these guys know well enough that they're talking about to give enough trust and authority. And then it's really about the quality pieces. Like, so this is a content filler. We're filling it up. We're not looking to make any content pieces go viral. Although some of the clips with like Adam Morgan and some of the stuff that Craig Zingerline said this past week, I think we could like bring into like viral content clips and blast them out. It was rad. It was like chills, like thinking about it. Like it's good stuff. So you keep on doing the work and then you distill. You keep on doing the work, you distill. You keep on doing the work, you distill. And then you take the little chunks of gold and you send it out and you're like, oh, wow, it all must be gold. Now we're producing a lot of crap. We are.
Right. And the goal is to get higher quality speakers, produce better pieces of writing. It is a muscle where, we started doing videos every day 8 weeks ago. Hopefully we've gotten better at just feeling comfortable on camera, saying whatever we're going to say. And we're at the point where we can have a valuable conversation with an individual. As the value of the individual themselves goes up, the content goes up, the questions become better. Now we're just starting to put it into articles. Those articles are what we're talking about right now. Like, is this even the article we want to create? If it's not, then don't do it. If it is, double down, build that muscle, get better at the content you're creating. I have a question though about people that are just starting to create content. You have a guy that does side-by-sides. He's like, this is winning content, this is not winning content.
Ooh, Harry Dry. I was going to bring him up already. Yeah.
But he's just starting, right? You talked about Profitwell and you're saying they have a foundation. They have 1,000 articles. What do they do? Well, we have 0 articles. We have a bunch of videos. What do we do? Harry Dry apparently just started. What is he doing that other people aren't doing that's making him accelerate so much faster?
He's going straight for viral. But is he? Does he already have a base? Has he already practiced his muscles? Let's go find out. So it looks like a friend of his started this thing. And this is great segue to the next topic. Thank you. And then we'll go back to Harry Dry and marketingexamples.com. But so he's in a couple groups I'm in, and he posted email mastery. Now we come in, it's on Product Hunt today. So I think it's today, right? Whatever. A day or two ago, whatever. Number 3, and he's promoting this. And he's like, I'm an expert. I've been in the email marketing game for 2 decades. And I took a look at this, and it's like super legit content, right? So, the Warby Parker, so we took, what was the thing called? Good UI, where we started doing the teardowns, or how Profitwell does pricing page teardowns.
The UI examples or
Yeah, it was like good UI where they had these like unit tests, right? Um, Something like that. Anyways, this one is all about email marketing and email marketing teardowns. So it's super rad. Email@mastery.org, and look at the style. It's kind of got like a semi-translucent. It's got a very good style and really, really good content. Like, how do I segment my email list in an appropriate way so I'm juicing it without going over the effort? What's the opportunity cost of email segmentation and listing the people side by side? So really good. But let's see, was it good? Marketing examples. I wasn't planning on bringing this up, but no. What is this at? Where is it at? This is called Good Marketing. Marketing examples, not good marketing examples, marketingexamples.com. Yeah. Notice anything?
it's exactly the same.
It's exactly the same, bro. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the fucking same.
Can we say that on this show? I
I
thought we
didn't
were
say it.
PG-13.
I was whispering. Doesn't matter. Anyways, so he's got cold email, viral conversation, all these traction channels, blah 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 blah, right? All this stuff, but it's exactly the same. So I don't know if he partnered with this person and say, hey, let's like cross promote content or whatever, but that's like a really good way to do it. And say, hey, we'll give you a bunch of links just in your email section, but he doesn't even have an email section, so maybe that's why he's doing it. Cool.
Here's my hypothesis.
Yeah.
This looks like something that you can create with Airtable. And it looks like he just copied it. And this is some sort of display version of the Airtable that you create.
Old one without cool animation, Michael says. I don't understand. But anyways, it's all good. Moving on. So here's the thing. Email mastery is rad. Anybody that's doing email marketing campaigns and want it, yes, it does feel like Pinterest. Yes, it feels very much like Pinterest. I'm scrolling down. I want to do infinite scrolling. Very good for engagement. Very good for search engines because you're going to reduce the bounce rate. You scroll a couple times. It's considered an engagement and not a bounce, which means if it pops up on the search engine algorithm, that's really high intent for that particular keyword. And Pinterest, they got really thoughtful influencers at the beginning to start doing pins, and SEO was also a very, very big part of their game early on. So all of their pins had some form of SEO that were like popping up, and then kind of Google over time said, this isn't really quality content. Let's get rid of it. And I think that's kind of what happened. For them to continually have quality content that people wanted to engage with and their algorithms, you still need to push a ton of words to engage, but it's really about engagement hacking, because you don't want people to click the back button. Number one thing you don't want people to do when you're doing SEO is have them click the back button. They can do anything but click the back button. So whatever you do, just don't have them click the back button after their search. Just can't do it. If you do that, you lose. All right, let's end on the conversation we had yesterday. Was it yesterday? It was yesterday, about authority and influence stacking. So what we're really talking about here is the 6,000 word article, the distillation of thousands of hours of creative work into one ad, into one presentation, years and years of understanding, of research, of psychology. The key thing is, and I think this is a really key important thing, is there's this ratio of, did this work for me or not? Do I trust it or not? And when you're building trust in terms of content. So Deidre started a debate with us yesterday after the show on her feel methodology. And it was a debate of like, how much of this is really, really applicable, or how much of this is a waste of time in terms of time versus cost associated with the time. And you really don't know, right? So there's not infinite time in the world. And we I can't sit here and talk to Jody and teach her how to code, because, there's classes and videos out there. And Ross, I can't go with every single like marketing copy with you or teach you how to code, and Michael, I can't teach you how to code because you're teaching
You're
me
better than me.
But the thing is that if I do have a question, I'm not going to go to Jody to teach me how to code, right? I'm going to go to Michael because I believe and I perceive that he's better at me in this one particular coding context, right? I'm not going to try to waste his time. I'm going to try to learn on my own, but I'm going to go to him when I've kind of blew through all of my Googles and I still can't figure out, and I need an idea to bounce off or some other expertise, right? In particular aspects of particularly Python Django and other aspects of development, Michael is a higher up the dominance hierarchy of authority than me, right? Now that is what you have to do. Like, whether it's true or not in your marketing, you have to be perceived to be higher dominance and have higher authority than the person that you're trying to inform and train. And I'm going to end in the last couple minutes on this famous line from Floyd Mayweather Sr. I probably said it on the show, but it is, Ross, do you know what it is?
I do not know.
Most people don't know shit about boxing.
I do know that.
So this is what I like to say. So there's a lot of content out there. There's a lot of pages. There's a lot of SEO content. There's a lot of influencers. There's a lot of thought leaders. There's a lot of experts out there that think that they know more than you do. The real thing is that most people don't know more than you on your topic that you feel. It gives you the feeling that they know more than you when you see their blog and you see their history of content and you see their kind of experience and expertise. But what happens in a lot of cases is their content is old. It retires. It starts to deteriorate. They don't use their content creating muscle. They don't use their development muscle. Whatever you want to do and you choose to do, you need to continually do that, or somebody else, younger, faster, smarter, is going to beat you to it. And so when you're pushing content out there and when you're marketing, you need to at least be perceived to be in the top 1% of authority and influence. And if you're not, people are just going to ignore you.
I think it's really interesting because it's a conversation that comes up with you and I all the time, which is, can we make a piece of content that teaches someone? We tried to do it with people that run conferences. Did not go over well because someone who runs a conference, if you don't run a conference, they know that they know more than you. With the ClickFunnels people, you make a video and it goes out to the masses, everyone who wants to make 6 figures from home. And you can speak in a way that's, hey, do you want to make 6 figures from home because you've never run a business before, that you have higher authority. But as soon as you try to use that same type of campaign and go to someone and say, I'm going to teach you how to do a specific job, the job that you've been doing for 10 years, and I'm coming in as someone who hasn't been doing it for 10 years, if you try to use the ClickFunnels approach, they're going to laugh at you because you're talking to them in a way such that you have more authority, but you haven't actually proven it. You're just hyping them up.
You have to prove it. Well, I do make 6 figures from home and more than 6 figures from home. And if you want to learn, keep on coming back to Masters of Marketing. This has been Friday, some date in May. It's almost June. This has been fun. I'll see you on Monday.